What is going on, everybody? Thank you for stopping by the Fantasy Authority YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be hitting you with my top 10 rookie running backs for 2024 Dynasty Leagues. But before we get into that, please make sure to like and subscribe and drop a comment below. Let me know who you like, who you don't like. Would love to interact with some of you and get some discussion going. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. Kicking things off here at number 10, DeeJay Dallas, running back out of Miami, who landed with the Seattle Seahawks. Straight up, this is just going to be the potential for volume in a run-heavy scheme. The Seahawks have ranked in the top 3 in rush attempts in back-to-back years, and we know Pete Carroll's history with his team, right? Like, he does not care if you are a first-round draft pick, you just sign a massive contract extension, or if you're a UDFA, you're getting the vet minimum. He does not care. If you are playing the best at that time, you're gonna get on the field, right? Chris Carson ahead of him, obviously Rashard Penny, Carlos Hyde maybe at this point as well. But all of those guys, I don't think any of them are cemented into their roles. So DeeJay Dallas, all it's going to take is him impressing Pete Carroll enough, and the other guys ahead of him, making mistakes. Honestly, Chris Carson has the fumbling issues. Penny can't stay healthy. Carlos Hyde, even though he had a pretty respectable year last year with Houston, he's a Jag. He's replaceable. DeeJay Dallas isn't going to impress you or wow you with anything on film, but he's a tough runner, good contact balance. Something sneaky here. He actually started his career in Miami as a wide receiver and then switched to running back. So maybe there's some hidden PPR value there with him. So DeeJay Dallas is going to come in at the 10th spot. Number 9 for me is going to be Zach Moss. I hate where he landed, to be honest. The only way I see him giving us consistent fantasy production on a week-to-week basis is going to be if Devin Singletary gets shelved one way or another, whether that's through trade or, hopefully this doesn't happen, but we see it happen every single year at the running back position. Maybe he ends up on IR or something like that. And then the other main thing to take into consideration here is Josh Allen, super involved in the running game for a quarterback. Past 2 years, he's averaged around 100 rushing attempts, 570 yards, and 8 touchdowns. So you're going to have the 2 running backs battling each other for touches and carries. And then you're going to have Josh Allen coming in and vulturing touchdowns. We saw how much he was used on design runs, especially inside the red zone. So both of the running backs are going to take a drop here for me. And I did have Moss, I think, at RB7 pre-draft, so it's really not that far of a drop. But I know a lot of other people are higher on him and have him higher in their rankings than I do here. Number 8, Darrynton Evans. He's going to be the perfect complementary back in a run-first offense to somebody like Derrick Henry. Evans actually has a little bit more strength and contact balance than you would expect for somebody at 203 pounds. But where he wins and what he's really going to bring to this offense is going to be his speed and his burst. He put up a 4.41 40 at the combine, giving you an 82nd percentile burst score as well. And the thing here that might give you sneaky dynasty value, especially, is obviously Henry is only franchise tagged for this year, right? I don't really foresee them bringing him back unless they franchise tag him again, which I guess could happen, but I don't think is super likely. So next year, I think if Evans can produce and show enough, we could be looking at him as potentially a 1A in a committee instead of like a 1B or a 2 in 2021. Number 7, Antonio Gibson, coming out of Memphis and landing with the Washington Redskins. At first glance, it seems like Gibson has landed in a really crowded running back room, right? You're talking Darius Geis, Adrian Peterson, Bryce Love, Peyton Barber, J.D. McKissick. But whenever you really break this down, for dynasty purposes, the only long-term option that's getting in his way or may get in his way is obviously Darius Geis, right? And he hasn't been able to stay on the field. He hasn't been able to stay healthy throughout his first 2 years in the NFL. When you look at Gibson, there's a lot to like. There's so much upside with this guy. When you're talking about size, checks that box. Came in 6 foot 228. Athleticism, checks that. You can see on the screen here with the image we have up, looking at what his 40 time was at the NFL Combine. Speed score, he can catch, he can run, he can contribute on special teams. He only had 77 touches at Memphis, but I think he broke tackles on like 33 of them or something. It ended up being basically like on 50% of his touches. He was breaking and evading tackles. So there's a lot to really like here. There is a bit of a projection, but this is one of those things that once we look back on this, 2 or 3 years from now, Gibson might be up there with the top 2-3 running backs of this class. So I really like this position that he's in. Dude has a lot of upside. We just have to see how this all pans out for him and how he's going to be used in Washington. Keyshawn Vaughn is going to land here at 6. Hopefully our fearless leader Kev does not watch this, because I'm sure he's not going to forgive me for this ranking. But with the other guys in front of him, I can't, for dynasty purposes, I can't put him higher than this. And the crazy thing is, this is an awesome landing spot, right? This Tampa Bay is one of the places that dynasty players were clamoring for, hoping to see somebody land. Keyshawn Vaughn lands there, doesn't have the competition in front of him outside of Ronald Jones, who, let's be honest, couldn't beat out Peyton Barber. So I don't think he's a huge roadblock. The main reason why I can't rank him any higher than 6 here, again, for dynasty purposes, is the fact that he doesn't necessarily have a trump card or a calling card or something that he really excels at. He's good at everything, right? Which is obviously going to get him opportunity and keep him on the field. But there's really nothing that he truly excels at. So because of that, and because of the talent ahead of him, I'm going to drop him here at 6. DeAndre Swift to the Detroit Lions is going to slide in here at my 5 spot. Maybe I'm basing this ranking off of Detroit ruins rookie running backs narrative. Maybe I'm reading into that a little bit too much, or that's kind of stuck in my head. But at the same time, man, there's still 4 really good running backs ahead of him, so I feel okay about it, other than the fact that this is the ranking that I look at and think that, like, this could be my worst one 12 months from now. But he's gonna have the opportunity. I think this is gonna be his backfield sooner rather than later. I wasn't a huge Kerryon Johnson guy when he was coming out. Now, obviously, he has the injury history and the inability to prove that he can stay on the field since coming into the NFL. And I think outside of that, the other thing that could hold him back is I do think that Detroit wants to use a committee of some sort. Whether that's having kind of like a designated role guy. The thing I could see them kind of using here would be a short yardage, goal line banger, kind of back, somebody like they already have on that roster with a Bo Scarborough, coming in and possibly vulturing touchdowns, which is obviously going to limit Swift's true upside and his true potential. But the dude's a baller. We've talked about on the podcast before that, he was kind of being pushed down, I think, because of we've been talking about him for so long. Now it's time to switch things up, kind of ranking that happens every year. But DeAndre Swift is going to land here at 5. And like I said, this could be the one where I feel the worst about it 12 months from now. J.K. Dobbins is going to slide in here at 4. And same thing, man. Like this one feels wrong having him here at 4, especially because I love the landing spot, and I think it's a perfect fit in terms of a talent perspective and a scheme perspective, right? With you look at the offense that Dobbins came from at Ohio State, a lot of zone reads. Look at him where he's going to land now with Baltimore. I think we could see more zone reads there as well, more than we saw last year with Mark Ingram. The thing that makes me feel okay about having him here at 4, not higher on my list, is the fact that Lamar Jackson is ultimately going to cap his upside as both a runner and a pass catcher, right? Whenever we have the running, scrambling kind of quarterbacks, they tend to not check down, dump down to their running backs, and I feel like Dobbins can function really well as a pass catcher. But if you're going to have Lamar Jackson taking off and making plays for himself with his legs, that's going to take away from Dobbins targets, and then obviously ultimately the amount of catches that he's going to have in that offense. The one downside with Dobbins is obviously we're going to have to deal with the presence of Mark Ingram, probably just for a year, right? But after that, it's going to be wheels up. It's going to be Dobbins backfield. So again, this is one where I could have Dobbins higher, but I feel because of everything else going on around him, I feel okay with having him at 4. Cam Akers landing with the Los Angeles Rams, 2nd round pick. Love the prospect, love the player. This is a really nice landing spot as well. Something I've seen floating around a little bit that I don't think holds much weight is since Akers is used to running behind a bad offensive line at Florida State, that's not going to hold him back with the Rams. Because, if you look at their draft and everything they did in the offseason, they didn't do anything to really shore up that offensive line, and that was a weak spot for them last year as well. But the difference you have to realize here is while he might be able to overcome that a little bit, easier or quicker because he is used to running behind, horrible offensive line play at Florida State, there's going to be such a difference in what he's facing defensively at the NFL level, right, versus what he did at college. So this is another situation where I think this is going to be Akers' backfield sooner rather than later. We saw Henderson last year struggle to get on the field. Didn't really impress much when he did. And the other guy that's there, Malcolm Brown, kind of jaggy to me. So I think this is going to be Akers' backfield sooner rather than later, and we've seen how involved Todd Gurley has been in this offense with McVay. And even if we look at last year, where it seemed like Todd Gurley was such a disappointment more or less, he still ended up, I think he was like RB 14 or 15 in half PPR scoring. So let's say that's kind of Akers' even floor, or that's a starting point for him. If he's going to slide into the 2019 down year Todd Gurley role, I mean, that's still worth 250, 260 touches. So if he's going to get that, and if this offense and offensive line can improve, love Akers in this spot, and he's going to land here at 3 for me. Jonathan Taylor coming in at number 2. He could easily be the number 1 here. I wouldn't have any qualms with anyone who did have him at 1. The thing that's ultimately going to hold me back from putting him at that 1 spot, the majority of us play in PPR leagues, and I don't know how the Colts are going to utilize him. I don't think it's a case of that he can't. I'm just not sure if the Colts are going to lean on him in that way. And that's been the issue with Marlon Mack the past couple of years, is Mack was involved in the passing game in terms of, if he was on the field for a passing play, he was going out on a route. He wasn't staying in to pass protect. The issue is that never led to targets. So Will the Colts kind of flip that around with Jonathan Taylor? I mean, it's possible, but when it comes to ranking these guys, that's going to be the thing that ultimately holds me back a little bit. But let's face it, man, he's going to be able to push Marlon Mack out of the way sooner rather than later. And even if it is split this year, I don't think it's a bad thing for him and his longevity anyway, considering he had nearly 1,000 touches in his 3 years at Wisconsin. So having him here at number 2, PPR upside is limited, and that's what's going to keep him here for me. Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE coming in at that number 1 spot here for me for my 2020 Dynasty rookie running back rankings. Draft capital, check. Explosive offense, check. Coach with a history of turning out elite fantasy production at the running back position, check. I mean, I think the only hole you can poke here with Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE is I don't necessarily see him getting, 25 touches a game, but I think in this offense, like, that's completely okay. I think he could be a top end running back for fantasy purposes, living off of 16 to 18, maybe 20 touches, every once in a while, just based off of how efficient and explosive this offense is going to be. And because of that, that's going to put them in scoring position, which is going to give Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE a lot of opportunity in the red zone. So, and the thing that held me back from putting Taylor at 1, Clyde Edwards-HELAIRE has. I mean, he had 50 plus catches last year at LSU. I think you can line him up in the slot. He's obviously going to be able to thrive in the screen game and how Andy Reid schemes up the screens for running backs. So landing with the Chiefs and Andy Reid is like that's a dream come true, man. All right, guys, that's it. That's going to wrap up my top 10 rookie running back rankings for 2020. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Like I said at the beginning, hit that like and subscribe button and make sure to drop your comments below. Be sure to keep your eyes peeled for more video content coming to you in the future.